and we went to listen to it back because we just do it without headphones, and we were like, it sounds like shit, why is that? And it's because we hadn't switched inside the studio to the mics, we had just left it on the computer speaker. So the whole thing was recorded out of the computer.
I did that
Yeah.
I did that about 3 episodes ago.
Oh, did you?
I just didn't have this thing plugged in the side.
Yeah.
Here, so it was all coming through.
Did you re-record or just go with it?
No, we just went with it.
Yeah.
We've had minimal complaints.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Once you've invested that time, it's hard to re-record, right?
yeah, 100%. The energy's gone, and you ask the same thing.
don't
Wrong
have to.
reactions.
Yeah.
Do you want it?
No, I don't know.
I'm doing it because I have the headphones on because I need to just double check this recording
Yeah.
levels. I'm the tech guy.
Oh, nice.
Hey, we're recording, by the way.
Yeah, I
We
thought you might have
begun.
been.
Yeah, kind of rolled it in there. Hello, listeners. JB Podcast. We're at number
36.
36. Joe's keeping score there. Thank you very much.
Welcome, guys. JungleBrothers.com. If you need any help, strength, movement, mobility, all that stuff, get in touch. Also, find us on Instagram at junglebrothersmovement.com. We got 5 of us in the studio today, so there's 4 microphones, some head pieces, some of us are sharing. So it's going to be a cool episode. We got a couple of guests from the gym. We got Scotty and Kasha. Welcome, guys.
Kasha.
Kasha?
Kasha.
Kasha. Fuck.
I
But
have
it's
to
spelled with 2
I have to
E's.
defend her honour.
Yeah, you must.
Yeah.
No, I like my name having the word cash in it. Dollar bills.
Yeah, it's the little dollar signs.
Yeah.
You guys getting married?
Sure are.
When are you getting married?
Don't know. When, Cash?
The plan is 2021 and like April, May. So you have any venues? Any? If you own a farm?
Would you let us do it out of the gym?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
The first in-house Jungle Brothers wedding.
Yeah.
That's a while away. So there's time
Yeah,
to
exactly.
organise it.
I reckon we just sit, we'll do the ceremony. I'll sit on top of the monkey bars, sit up there. People can just sit on the floor.
So
Yep.
do I have to?
Chairs are cancer.
We could
so
get various members to perform talent shows at the wedding as part of the entertainment.
Love it. Who does the, I forget her name, but she does all the tumbling on the ropes?
Haley.
Haley, yeah. We'll
Yeah.
get Haley to perform. That'd be
T
sick.
sings.
T will be able to perform 2021.
Well, yeah, he's ready to go this Christmas.
Go now.
Yeah. Bill Withers, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, and I guess
Congratulations.
thank you very much. No, it's very exciting. And I guess Keisha's about to move to Canberra for the next 4 months in prep for Tokyo, so it gives us
Hang
something
on
to do
a
at least.
second. Let's rewind a bit. Who the hell are you guys? What's going on?
Oh, sorry,
Tokyo wedding.
I assumed
Introduce
when
yourself.
you guys introduced me, Scott from the gym, that everyone knows who I am already anyway.
That's it, right?
It's like Joey, T, Paulie, and Scott. Like that's basically. I don't know, Keisha, you can introduce yourself first.
So I probably am not as regular to the gym, but I have been coming the last month. And but yeah, usually I am jetting off with the Australian water polo team. In 2016, I went to the Rio Olympics for water polo, and am hoping to go to the Tokyo Olympics for the same sport. Be cool if I was going for a different sport, but no, for the same sport. And I will head off to Canberra on Monday to start our kind of, I guess, 9-month prep leading in.
Wow, that's impressive.
Unreal.
That's cool.
Could you tell us a little bit about water polo? Like, what is it?
What is it?
What's the aim of the game?
The aim of the game. Aim of the game is score more goals than the other team, as with most games.
No, isn't it to have fun? As long as everyone's having fun. For all the kids out there and the parents.
Not when you go to
That's
the Olympics.
So it's like soccer in the water with your hands.
Yes.
Same kind of rules?
Exactly, with a little touch of rugby just sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Is that the stuff that's going on under the surface?
Yes,
Right.
under the surface. So, unfortunately, in Rio, I don't know if you guys know, but the chlorine in the pool got the ratio got messed up, so they didn't have tampered with, not tampered, but just messed up, just human error.
Okay.
And so they didn't have underwater footage, but that basically is the stuff you want to see.
Oh, so when you're watching broadcast of it, they show, like they've got cameras under the water.
Yeah, so get excited for Tokyo because, yeah, they have them all over the pool and you'll maybe see a bit more than you bargained for in terms of cozzies getting pulled and things
It's
being
actually-
shown.
Wow.
I reckon, from a jiu-jitsu perspective, the swimmers actually act like kind of like a gi or a rash shirt. So the guys have obviously less because we're just wearing togs. But when the girls are getting held, to show the ref that they're being held, they jump out of the water. So then their
it gets
boobs
pulled
come
down.
out. So literally you got to show your boobs to get the call.
To get the foul.
And then you swim off. Whereas,
price to pay.
yeah,
Get that penalty
Depends
kick.
how big your boobs are, I guess. No, but we actually did some jiu-jitsu and like wrestling breaking hold practice leading up to Rio. So it was really fun. Hopefully we can do some more of that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to grab the swimmers, but it obviously happens.
I've
Or
been.
are you allowed?
It's a non-contact
Right.
sport in inverted commas, but
It's like yeah.
what happens under the water stays under the water.
I've played water polo.
oh, nice. Who'd you play for?
I played once,
School?
Oh no.
and I went to private school,
Yeah, lucky you.
and went to private school, and I played a game of water polo, 15 minutes of it, and it was the worst, most horrible time of my life. I got in the pool. I can't swim for shit. I sink like a fucking rock. Anyway, I got in the pool, and they blew the whistle. Some dude swims over to me, gets his toes, rips my swimmers off. They're down around my ankles. I'm like, oh shit. As I'm taking a breath in, he pushes my head underwater. I just swallow like a litre of water. My lungs fill up. Not only does he drive me down, he steps on my head and pushes me to the bottom of the pool. I thought I was going to die.
Wow.
It was the worst fucking experience of my life. I crawled out of the pool like a drowned rat, and I was like, that's it. I'm definitely
No
not
more.
playing that game ever
Yeah,
again.
I think-
It
I think
was
people have,
fucking
like-
brutal.
What a career.
It was horrible.
What a sequence.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Right, scarred
First
me.
minute, that's pretty
Scarred me.
full on.
Yeah,
Normally,
it was horrible.
I mean, that's each game for me, but like,
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
first minute.
But you got to be fit. Like, I couldn't believe how quickly I just fatigued. I got to a point where I was like, and they wouldn't let me touch the side of the bloody pool. Every time I swam over there, like, get back out there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh gosh,
I think that's what
that's a hard game.
like I think with water polo when you start, you either go your way where you're like, this sport is way too hard for me, I'm never going to be able to do it, I'm out.
quit.
Just quit, yeah. Or you go, I love this, and then you sort of, dedicate your life to it, like I guess.
Turn into a machine.
Well, I
Yeah.
actually, I have 3 older sisters, so I actually played my first game when I was 6.5 because they ran out of players. So imagine like I was a tiny 6-year-old and jump in the pool with these under 14s, and I just remember being like so scared, just like you, like swimming away from everyone, and then I was like, had to go to their trainings every time, and so I would be sitting on the side with my mum, and I was like, well, if I have to go in next time, I'm going to have to learn to egg beat and like have to learn to do all these things. So I kind of,
What's egg beat?
it's how everyone stays afloat.
It's like treading water.
It's like breaststroke kick, but separate legs.
And it makes you sit higher.
Yeah.
Spew, and I'm taking his microphone.
Joe and T is sharing a mic today.
We have
everyone.
egg beating in jiu-jitsu as well, interestingly.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it's what you call because you're trying to bring your guard, your legs, on the inside of your opponent's legs or arms.
Okay.
And then they're trying to bring their arms or legs inside yours, so then you egg beat back in.
That's
yeah.
exactly the same movement. It's like, that.
Like that?
Yeah.
like
And
salsa.
basically, the faster you do it and the more you push the water down, that's how everyone gets higher out of the water.
Buoyant.
So if you're just sitting there, which becomes
So
like,
it's a collective thing. Like in sometimes, are you saying that when there's 2 people egg beating next to each other?
No.
they're-
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay, I was- that's
So-
fucking cool.
you could create like a whirlpool. No. So if you're just sitting, like if I'm just sitting in the water, I can do egg beater nice and slow, just like I'd walk down the street. But
Yep.
obviously, if you haven't done it before, it's quite hard. But then if I go faster, then I can come out,
Propel.
out to your hips or whatever.
So that's what Paul was talking about, how you come you
Yeah.
bring a whole torso out of the water.
Yeah.
So that's really, that's...
Yeah, I was saying earlier before we started recording, when I see water polo, that's like the most amazing thing because it looks like you're defying kind of
Gravity.
whatever gravity, and they just rise up. They're like up to their shoulders, and then it's kind of like Godzilla in that slow-mo coming out of the Japan Sea type thing, like, "Rah," and they come out to their like hip height.
No, they
and then
come-
everyone's got like those broad shoulders and they just open up for that shot.
There's goalkeepers who come out and there's daylight between their legs. Like
Okay,
that's how high
yeah,
they come out
yeah.
off their
Man.
jump.
Yeah,
Like,
and then you
it's-
see, guys
that
and girls like coming out to their hips or wherever with someone holding on to them, and you're like, they're
How
they're
are they
lifting
doing that?
themselves out plus another human. So yeah, pretty incredible.
So is there a body type, just like on that, T was saying he sinks. Do you see, like with swimmers, you see that there's usually, like they're big and strong, but they might carry like a little layer of body fat, like it doesn't serve them to be completely lean. You two are quite lean individuals. Is there something there that's like an optimal range?
I reckon. I guess it's different for men and women. In the men's game, like the Europeans are average like 2 meters tall. Like they're just gigantic. And then you'll see some of them and you go, they're not athletic at all. They just look like big fat blokes, but they can swim. So it's sort of, there's not a lot of, the Australian team's pretty lean, but yeah, a lot of international players are like a bit more bulky, not really cut, but they can swim all day long and they're actually deceptively strong. And then I guess in women's,
There's a huge variation
Yeah.
across different nations. So, some nations you'll find everyone is 5 foot nothing and lean and fast. And then you've got countries more like Australia and America where we're a lot taller, a lot bigger. And it just kind of depends. Like the women's game has got quite a few different styles. So, and that's the same with the men with the different styles, but just like the body type it's dependent on your position, but also a lot dependent on your country.
I was wondering about that position thing. Yeah. Just, rugby and stuff, you got bigger people in the forward pack and faster people on the wings. What are the body type spreads in water polo?
Yeah, same sort of thing. So,
Same sort of thing.
like I'm a centre back, so my job is to pick up the centre forward, which is usually the biggest, tallest, ugliest bloke in the pool. So then, ideally, so I'm like 94 kilos at the moment, and the centre forward on our team's about 115 to 120 kilos.
Is he the one that
Holy
throws the ball in the net?
Yeah, well, if we give it to him, yeah. He gets angry if we don't give him the ball, so we try to give it to as much as possible. So I'm probably a little bit undersized to take him on because I'm just, if we're just pushing against each other, he's just got a weight advantage on me, so I'm just not going to be able to push him anywhere. And then, the Australian team centre forward, he plays in Italy, he's probably close to 130 kilos at the moment.
Oh my
he's
God.
just a big, I think he's Samoan, originally. And he's just this big, huge human.
Represent.
Yeah.
Don't get many Pacific Islanders that can swim.
No. Then he can swim too. So
They're trying to bring beach water polo to the Pacific Islands. I was there for a conference a few months ago, and they want to get more people swimming, and because it's
Be good for them.
good. It's fun because there's a lot of worry about water safety. So I don't know. Anyway, side note.
We've got surfers coming out of Fiji, some good surfers
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
and
good surfers.
paddleboarding. They got a national
Always
paddleboard
good
team.
surfers,
They're
yeah.
getting
Awesome.
competitive.
International paddleboarding.
Yeah.
I
They've
didn't
got
know that was-
some world champion coach over there.
Cool.
I think he's European or something like that, but he's over there teaching a lot of the younger kids, trying to build a little team there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask though before we go further because I got heaps of questions too. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce the sixth member to this podcast?
I'll start with the sixth member. So he's half falling asleep on my lap
Jump
at
on
the
that,
moment. So this is Magic. He's our dog. I think he thinks he's a person more than he's a dog. He failed. I tried to get him to a puppy daycare centre this week, and he failed in the first minute because he didn't want to play with the other dogs.
You want to come inside?
Yeah,
Be back with Scott.
yeah.
What's his full name?
Magic Johnson, named after the famous Irvin Magic Johnson, Lakers circa 89 through to 2000-ish. Oh, no,
Yeah.
80 to 89, 92, no, whatever. I know a bit about
Baller.
basketball.
Yeah.
Baller. So anyway, it doesn't look like Magic Johnson at all. He's a tiny little dog, and he's a sook, and he's looking at you on muffins.
He's like the dog
Paulie.
from Men in Black.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, that's a pug dog.
Is that a pug?
He's
He's a half pug.
He's a half
Oh, he's a
pug.
half pug.
half pug, massive sook though. What was the second one? Introduce me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bit more about me. Sick.
You play
I love
water
talking
polo
about me.
too.
Yeah, play water polo. I run a company called Beach Water Polo Fours, so we're trying to grow just participation in water polo around Australia, playing it cool, iconic waterways around the country. So that's going really well. Just get more people playing and show more people the sport. And then I started playing beach handball a couple of years ago in 2013, and have been doing that with the national team ever since, and going away next month to World Beach Games. So, yeah, bit of a throbber, I guess.
A throbber.
Yeah.
He uses that word way too much.
That's new. I've been getting over frother.
You got.
Oh, cool, man.
It's like Joey. When you talk about Joey in jiu-jitsu, he throbs at an elite level.
Rub on the mats.
Yeah.
Stop. So, can I ask, when you started? Oh, you already said you started when you were 6. That was your first experience, and it kind of just went from there.
Well, you weren't technically allowed to play when you were that young.
6 and 14 is a massive gap.
So I started playing when I was 10,
Okay.
and then, every morning type of stuff when I was I don't know, 15 or 16.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And yourself?
So that's a long time.
I started playing the women won gold in Sydney. So I remember I hated swim. Like my mum said to me, you have to keep doing squad swimming until you're in high school, and then you can decide what you want to do. So when I was in year 6, about to go into high school, I watched the women win gold, and I was like, that looks like way more fun to keep going with. So picked it up that summer and then never stopped. So so that would have been when I was 10 or 11. So as well. So yeah, it's been for a while. I'm 30 now, so 20 years.
And how do you get started?
Uh,
Did your school have it?
We had a
Or-
local comp
Okay.
near us, but usually people start through school. But I think it starts now at under 12s level that they have like the club competition starts. But there's a few things where you have like under 10s can do like a come and try day, and it's one of those sports I think where you've just got to be in the know and know somebody who does it, and then they sort of introduce you. It's not marketed well, which is kind of what I want to try and do is improve profile of it. It's just hard to start.
Are you trying to? I mean, is that a commercial venture for you? Are you trying to make a business out of it as well as spread the message of the sport?
Oh, absolutely. So I guess like the vision is to make beach water polo the rugby sevens of water polo. So like travel around the world, go to a city, harbour venue, have people like bring inflatables into the harbour, get like around it like they do at the rugby sevens again. Events that travel around the world as well. So we're getting there. It's still a bit far off, but that's the long term goal.
We've got to get you guys down. That'll be what'll really pick it up.
And JB's team.
Yeah, you were mentioning that before, and we were like, but I asked if you can put your feet on the ground.
At
I
low
was like,
tide
no.
for sure. Low tide for sure. But you got a boat, don't you? Or your dad's got a boat?
No, not anymore.
Oh, he sold it.
Well, no, he had a little tinny that was part of the place he worked at, but they don't work there anymore.
Because that's what we try and get people to bring their boats and like just anchor for the day and hang out and then jump off the boat, jump back on.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
cool. I could get around that.
Yeah, for sure.
Doesn't help you for the game though.
Go take the boat on the field.
Yeah, we had a bunch of guys come down who'd like had a huge night the night before, and like they were just all they were doing was sleeping on their boat all day, and then like roll off into the water, swim out to the field, play a game, go back on the boat, go back to sleep. That's hilarious.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit more about your handball.
yeah. So I guess handball's not very well known in Australia at all. Like I'd never heard of it until. I saw it when I was during the Sydney Olympics. I went and watched the game, and I thought it was cool, and then just never popped up again. Never got an opportunity.
This is indoor.
Indoor. That's at the Olympics. And then Keisha's sister ended up playing for the national team. She'd been playing handball for a while, and she asked us to come down to Manly and play a couple of social games with them. And it seemed like a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon. And when you're a little bit hungover, at least it gets you out of the house and to the beach. And then I sort of kept doing it, and I got asked to try out for the national team. And lo and behold, a sport that's got about 100 members worldwide, nationwide. It's not too hard to crack the national team. So, so made that, and then that year travelled to Colombia. In 2014, went to Brazil. 2016, we went to Hungary. 2017 to Poland. Last year, we went to Russia. This year, we're going to Qatar. So we've got to travel the world doing it, which is pretty sick. So I think I've played handball now in every country, every continent, except for Africa. So I've got to knock off Africa and Antarctica, but, we'll see.
So just for everyone, so European handball to beach handball is like indoor volleyball to beach volleyball.
Yeah.
So smaller field, less players, a few different rules, but you know the kind of idea.
Yeah.
It's on like a basketball court, and you got like indoor soccer goals.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And
I
then
played
there's-
one game.
Yeah,
Oh, you played
I
one
played
game of
one
that?
game with
Did you
Steph.
get
Yeah.
because he's pulled down and kicked in the face?
No, it's,
Drowned in sand,
no.
face shoved
The
in
indoor
sand.
European handball. I played that.
No, I
played
know.
one game. Yeah, okay. It was me who pulled it. Is that what you're suggesting? Yeah. He didn't know me back then.
Yeah.
I played the one game. It was fun.
It's
It was
great
tough.
fun. And
It's
I
so
think it
rough.
makes... You reckon it's rough?
No, it was. It was a mixed game. And it was still really rough. Like the blocking.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of leniency in that grey area where you can charge over the top of someone and like throw the ball, and it's you get knocked to the ground, and it's hard ground, and no one bats an eyelid.
No, it's...
Chicks were definitely going harder than the guys. The game that I played, they were like, super aggressive.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool sport. Like
Yeah.
they really emphasise athleticism and spectacular goals. So, like you get 2 points for a spin shot or an alley oop. So like catching in
cool.
the air and shooting. So like jumping and spinning and just being generally athletic is a huge
Yep.
part of the game. So to give you guys a plug. It's been a huge part of me coming here has been translated into that and being able to work be strong in different ranges and then translate that to the field. So good on you guys.
Real. Nice. Our pleasure.
There's a team going to the Olympics for handball. Is there an Olympic team?
For the Aussies?
Yeah.
So they can qualify through Asia, but the sport's too small here at the moment, so they're working their hardest to do it, but it's just, you're up against professional players and we just don't have that sort of background here, so it's a bit tall ask to make it. The women have a chance, I think, to qualify for Tokyo, or potentially they've already just missed it, but yeah, it's a tough order. But for beach handball, I always get... we talk about beach water polo, beach handball, I start getting mixed up. But anyway, beach handball, there's a chance it'll be a demonstration sport in Tokyo next year, and we don't know what that means in terms of like what teams will get to go, or if it's just going to be like an all-star team from players around the world. But if we got an opportunity to do that, I'd be pretty excited, especially since Tokyo's bloody expensive if you're looking at accommodation packages and tickets and stuff. So
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So lots of taxing riggers, sports demanding. What's it like living in the shadow of your missus?
I think it's
I'm never around, so it's not really a show.
I know you're
As
joking.
an athlete.
But
all right, Brian, I'm coming from a place because I know what it feels like.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I do.
Well, what was
My wife's a professional dancer.
Is that what you wanted to be?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I still dance, but
Yeah.
not professionally.
Yeah, not professionally. No, I saw you
Could
hung
if I
over at
wanted
your son's, what was it, the after school thing?
That was after a full night out,
Yeah,
after our Christmas party last year,
that's right.
and I got absolutely maggot. I got home at 6 a.m.
Oh my God.
My wife woke me at 8 a.m. and said, "Remember, it's Ty's first performance on stage today." It's my son. And I opened my eyes and I was like, all right, I got to get up. And then I got up and I got there. And then she reminded me, you have to go on stage with him and do a little dance. And I was like, oh my God, worst experience ever. But I did it.
You did it. And it
My
looked good.
son will always remember that.
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, it's on social media somewhere.
The deep corners.
Well, yeah, to answer your question, I don't think it's... I know you're joking. I don't think
it's more about like the support that goes with being a partner of someone whose whole life is obviously dedicated to your sport.
Yeah.
There's got to be like a support network there, and usually it's the person who's the closest to you.
Yeah.
So do you work like closely with her with food and
the food,
mental, support and all that kind of stuff?
I like to think mental support. I mean, Keisha's just come off a 8-month stint in Greece playing professionally. So the time difference to Greece was usually 9 hours, I think. So that would be like... She would wake up at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me, and so I'd be at work. So by the time I got off work, she was off to training, and then by the time she got off training, I'm either here or trying to go to bed, or so like trying to communicate during that period was pretty tough. But we always sort of seem to find a way to chat and work through anything. But we don't really have any like relationship problems. It's more just like...
Was that the question?
Definitely not the question.
What was in this?
Tell us more about
He's like,
that.
this is how I got to bring it up.
What was in this coffee?
No, so I can
what do
answer.
you-
I can help answer
Yeah,
a
I
little
was
bit.
going to
Yeah.
throw that question your way.
So I think
I thought if I just kept talking, I would get a good answer come out.
relationship problem. Leading up to Rio, I was the Rio Olympics. I was, fringe player, struggling really hard to make the team. Like every month, it would be trying to, like my coach would tell me to try and do something different, try and work on my swimming, be faster, try and work on my strength, be stronger, change position, all these things. And, it was really, really, really hard. And I think, looking back, and even in the time I think I knew that I wouldn't have been able to, make the team if it hadn't been for Scott. So I think, it's a little bit emotional. Don't know why, but I think, having that support. And they say, for an athlete to go to the Olympics, it takes a village, and that's so true. I had my family; it's such a great support, and my friends, but Scott was there for me every single day, and for me, for being someone who's can read too much into things or can look at the like catastrophize, I suppose is the word. Scott's like very logical and can bring me back down to earth. So I think, you know, in answer to the question, he's just as much a part of that Olympian name tag as I am.
That's nice.
That is beautiful. Really, really nice.
She got me Boomers shorts as well, so I get to wear the green and gold sometimes.
Boomers, that's the team?
The basketball team.
That's a basketball team.
Yeah, they had
We're
spare
the
ones going around
Stingrays. We're the Stingrays.
Stingers.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, it was like my Olympic experience with Keish, like I got to be at every single game. Like I ride the highs and the lows while she's playing, and like, you know, being so close to the sport, I know all the other girls in the team as well. I understand the tactics. I know the opposition players. So I'm riding the same sort of wave. The only difference was I got to go back and have mojitos after games.
Yeah. So he went on
Did you
a...
stay in the village as well?
No, but Rio was pretty lax. Like we walked around like the...
It's unlike
yeah.
Brazil.
Yeah, you could walk... Like there was a time where... yeah, you know, they have all these like guys running around with machine guns who are supposed to be like the enforcers or whatever, and they all look at each other. Like they just stand in a circle looking at each other. They're not looking at the crowd, so they're just talking to each other. So you could basically walk anywhere you want. So yeah, there was a time where like you left your phone with me, and I like ran through all the back things, got to like the
all
bus
the
to the
security
athletes'
points.
village. I was wearing like a supporters top. I could have got on the bus to go to the athletes' village and hung out. Like they wouldn't have even blinked an eyelid.
Yeah, but before Rio, I was doing like, I don't know, like an 8-week training tour around the world. And Scott's on like a literally party tour of Croatia. And all these people and he said, like, I'm going to the Olympics, next stop Olympics. And they're like, oh, like what sport are you competing in? Okay, that's not the preparation. Like every night drinking till 4. Like, come on.
Well, he looks the part as well.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Nah.
With a beer in hand.
Like
yeah.
a young Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Widest shoulders in the gym.
Yes.
Well, yeah. No, I take that as a compliment.
Keish, what's the, you know, so like you're obviously like you're at the top tier of athleticism in your sport, and you, like, I'm guessing you hold down a job. What are the last couple of years looked like? Do you work full time and then train outside of that, or you were funded by the team?
So, yeah, it's a bit of a patchwork quilt of jobs the last couple of years. So basically, before Rio, I was just a receptionist, personal assistant, and it was more of a earning money job to support the water polo. After Rio, I thought, okay, I put my life... And I've done a degree in architecture as well. But after Rio, I was like, okay, what do I actually want to do with my life? Because you do have to put your life kind of on hold to reach your goal, reach your dream. And so in that year, I decided that I wanted to be a florist, and then did the certificate in that, and absolutely love that. And so for 2017, I was doing training, like all the touring, and working basically full-time as a florist.
But what time does training start? Like, what time do you get up in the morning for training? Like
4 a.m. to get to training, get home at 10:30.
at night,
working-
not in the morning.
Yeah, get home.
She's
at
out from 4 o'clock in the morning till 10:30 at
Shit.
night. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like run off my feet, basically. And that's exactly why I decided to go to Greece. In Greece, or in Europe, you can play professionally and obviously just focus on the water polo. And so to earn money and play.
They'll pay you to play.
Exactly, yeah. And here you get money from the government, a little bit, not enough to live on, and you get your tours and things paid for. But they're not going to pay you on a weekly basis. So I decided to go to Greece, and then this year, with all of the commitments, it's basically impossible to work. So yeah, that's basically the saga. It kind of works in that 4-year cycle. The year leading up to the Olympics is the most full-on, the most time away from home, the most commitments, everything. And not many people will have a job. Maybe they'll do a little bit of a uni, but that's about it. So I like to say it's an amateur sport that requires a professional commitment,
Yeah.
basically.
It's full on.
Would that rule a lot of people out of being able to, they might have a dream, but they just don't have the means or to get involved? Or is it sort of unique only to this country and other countries do they fund it better?
I would say that it's more that you get selected early, like the earlier you get selected, the more chance you have of progressing, because there's not that professional structure in place. Like you can't make the Olympic team at 27 if you didn't make it at like 21, if that makes sense, because you haven't had those years of sort of being invested into. So whereas other countries, because everybody's professional, it's just like, hey, you had a great season, you're in the national team this year. Here it's more like the national team is sort of formed at a more, like you get sort of added to the squad and then you sort of keep training. And then you've sort of got to make that commitment to...
A bit more selective.
Kind of, yeah. It doesn't have the...
Sometimes the team will pick itself. Okay, you'll have, 18 people, but there will only be 20 people that would be wanting to be selected.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it sound like really easy, but like
No,
everyone quits along like much earlier because they have to weigh up. Okay, can I earn money? And when I'm not going to get any money from doing this. So, what's my realistic kind of? I don't know.
Well, at some point you have to choose. You have to make that call on whether you're going to be good enough. To cut it.
Yeah.
And I guess at a certain point you'd know. You're like, all right, well, I love the sport, I'm good at it, but I'm not good enough, so I'm just going to pull out.
Yeah, and I think like, with rugby, for example, you might be like, well, if I keep going, I'm still getting paid to be at the club level, even if I'm on the bench. But here it's like, well, I'm going to not be in the team.
Putting that life on hold as you
The sacrifices.
Yeah,
for sure.
But then
you hear that word thrown around a lot with professional athletes and top athletes, like the sacrifices that they have to make to stay in the sport. And I think it's quite easy for a fan or for a spectator to be like, yeah, whatever, like they're an elite athlete. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
They just train all day. But it's like, it's pretty real. Like, you're putting a lot of shit on the line to be able to do that.
I reckon, like my journey's a little bit different to Keisha's with handball. So like, I reckon over the last... Mate, it's not your office.
He's Irish, dude.
Yeah. I reckon over the last 6 years for me to tour and do all the stuff I've done with handball, it's at least 30 or 40 grand that I've had to drop. And like, that's pretty significant for, like, I'm running my own business. Like, we're trying to save, like, we bought a house, but, we're saving for stuff. So it's a huge investment that I've had to personally make. Whereas I guess you're in a position where, I can't even remember what the question is. I'm just going to keep talking until I find an answer again. But I think you're in a position where, like, you're not out of pocket to play for the national team, but you're not making money either, which is also a hindrance to, like, our, we're going to be behind someone, I guess, who starts saving at 20 and has that corporate job financially, but better life experience.
I kind of think as well, I don't know about professional sports, but there's never any question in my mind about my teammates' motives, because I know they're not here for the money, because there simply isn't any.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, we're all here to be the best we can be individually, be the best we can be as a team. And, this is, you don't have to question it, because the option just isn't there.
And even if, like, you do, like, if you won gold in Tokyo, it's not like there's a gold mine waiting if they can win something either. It's like purely an intrinsic reward. Yeah. Like, you guys will get something that you achieved as a team. There's no big sponsor that's coming on board or financial thing waiting for you. So
I wanted to ask, actually, when you went to Rio, 2 parts, how did you finish there in the comp? And secondly, talking about, doing all this and being self-motivated, some funding, but largely you're doing it for personal development, satisfaction and glory. What did that feel like going there? And was there a few moments there where you were like standing on the podium about to come out, or as the lights came up and it was like that Hollywood film and it just felt like amazing? Can you speak to like a little bit about your time in Rio and what that meant for you?
So at Rio we finished sixth. So we were very disappointed. We lost our quarterfinal against Hungary in a penalty shootout, so taking us out of the top 4 into 5th to 8th. And we went into that Olympics, like, I never doubted we wouldn't medal, which is now, looking back, ludicrous, because, well, obviously it didn't happen. But
Most countries would think that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right.
I think European teams, you just, when they play, basically, first of all, they have to work a lot. But to be honest, a lot harder than us to qualify for the Olympics. We have to play New Zealand, and that's how we qualify. And at the moment, Australia is stronger at water polo than New Zealand. But we had, performed well at tournaments leading up to it. We had medalled at those tournaments. And so, but at the same time, those games weren't easy. We weren't smashing anyone. We would lose games, or we would win them by small margins. We weren't miles ahead of anyone. So looking back, it's like, okay, realistically, that was to lose in a penalty shootout to Hungary is like what definitely could have happened and definitely did. So when Scott talks about the ups, the highs and lows of the Olympic experience, that quarterfinal was like obviously the biggest low. And unlike any other team sport, we actually had to keep playing. So from my understanding, no other teams have to play those classification games. So, you've lost the biggest game, and as much as you can be like, well, I still came sixth at the Olympics, that game to go into the fifth and sixth game is so hard. And then that game again to back up to get, to try and win for fifth. Like, it's obviously it still sounds like you should want to do it, but it was one of two of the hardest games ever. But then on a brighter note, the whole Olympic experience, I will never forget walking out for our first game against Russia, and Russia ended up coming third. Yeah, third, and we absolutely smashed them in our first game. But I can't remember the game at all.
She scored 3 or 4. I remember that. In that game.
I don't know. But what I remember is walking out and and the crowd is full, and you're looking around trying to find your family and friends. And then mine were not hard to find. There was I've got 3 sisters, and my mum and dad and Scott, and Scott's family was there as well. So it's this big group, and you just see them a mile away, and it's an amazing experience. And then add that with the roar of the crowd, and then singing, you get announced, your name gets called, and then you start singing the national anthem, and it's you've sung it every game for however long you've been in the national team, but that time is okay, this is it. This is this is the stage that I've been trying to get to for not a year, not 4 years, not 8 years, realistically.
Since you were 6.
Yeah, well, then I was trying to swim away from everyone. But because I saw my sister do the same thing for Beijing Olympics back in 2008. So okay. So it's that whole build-up, and I was a blubbering mess. I don't know how I scored any goals, let alone played at all. But, so, you've got these extreme highs and these, devastating lows that, as much as it's such a huge roller coaster, it's the thing that makes me want to go and do it again. Of course, not the lows. You never want to feel those again. But to have those highs is you can't replicate them. No. Yeah.
Wow.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. And there's lows that they're fueling you as well.
Yeah.
To motivate you, I guess, for the next 4 years and coming to the point that you're at now.
For sure. And I think I'm in a different position now. No one's guaranteed a spot in the team by any means, but I'm in a more senior position, and I can.
Because you've been at the games before.
Yeah, and I can kind of help lead the team to think, okay, we want to medal, we want to do as well as we can, but we need to also, first of all, do everything we can to get that goal, but also not expect anything either, because that's why we were all so devastated, because it was just out of the realm of possibility for us. So I think that's, I come in with a new perspective than I did last cycle. Whether I make it or not, hopefully I've helped shape the team to be, we've evolved from last time. I hope.
Do you have any mental coaches, any motivational coaches, or anyone that helps you with your mindset and stuff like that? Yeah,
Apart from me?
Apart from apart from you and like I'd imagine, being like an athlete, you would have already done your own work along the whole journey.
Yeah.
But is there someone that helps you in
Yeah.
preparation for the games or at any
So
time?
we have, I have my own individual sports psych, and then we have a team sports psychologist.
Yeah.
And so they help us work on, connections and work on, just work on a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm like a big believer in how important your mental state is for going into elite competition, because everybody's training hard. Everybody's doing hours and hours in the pool, hours and hours in the gym, hours and hours on the tactics, on the video. So if you can get, 5% more in how you approach the game, and it's still something that it's hard to measure and you have to constantly be working on. But I think, it's so important to be working on your mental approach to try and get not your best performance maybe every time, because that isn't realistic, but to get consistently as close to your best performance every single time.
Speaking of like your work with your sports psych, and I understand how important it is to have the right mindset coming into competition. What kind of steps do you take when you one day stop competing and coming out of that? Because that seems like, to me, like probably the most precarious time, because now you don't have that life goal, that high that you're so used to getting is now potentially never going to happen again. What's the process of moving away from that, and can that be a dangerous time for an Olympic athlete?
Absolutely. I think from what we saw in the media, I don't know how many years ago now, but a lot of high-profile athletes were coming forward and saying that they were suffering from depression and suffering from anxiety and all these things after they retired. And I think it took a lot of people by surprise, because they see these amazing kind of leaders in our field, in terms of our field, like sport, like these high-profile people, and you think, well, they've won 4 gold medals and they're this and they're that and they've got lots of money, like what's their problem? So I think it's definitely something that people need to be aware of. For water polo, in a sense, because we're not professional, I think it can actually help in that sense, because you always have to think, okay, what am I going to do for money? What am I going to do with my career? You have that at the back of your mind, rather than other players and other sports people that can just, focus on their sport. So I think that's definitely it. But then in terms of, those highs and those lows being so extreme in sport, I guess it is kind of something that I don't have the answer to, because, as I said, like I've never experienced anything quite like the Olympic experience. So to think, okay, maybe after Tokyo, that's a never again experience. I'll just have to make the wedding really fun.
I was going to say it's not a problem because we've got JB games every year.
Yeah, true.
Keep training for that.
That's every year too, not every 4 years. I don't have to wait that long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keish has to wait to receive her invite to
That's
the JB
true.
Games.
That's true.
Okay.
Has to qualify?
Yeah, qualify.
Yeah, no, I mean, just my thoughts on it, I guess. For you and I personally, I think that I don't think it'll necessarily change too much about how we actually exercise, because I think we're both pretty obsessive compulsive with actually working out. So I think we'll just find a different outlet for it. So whether that's like, doing more, I don't know, people going to triathlons and Ironmans and stuff like that, I'm sure we'll find some sort of other athletic pursuit, or just start training to do handstands better or something. I don't know. But I don't think it'll be like we have no... we can't do sport anymore. We'll just find another sort of outlet to sort of channel that
can
energy.
happen as well, can't it?
Yeah,
It's just
100%.
like they just stop. You just stop moving.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that can fill that kind of drive.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like, oh, what's the point?
Well, yeah.
And it is interesting, like, after Rio, I had, I think, 6 months off, and you find that you're so used to someone saying, okay, get here at 5 a.m. and this is what we're going to do, and then you have to do this, and you're used to someone just constantly telling you what to do. So when you have your own choice, it's like, oh, maybe I'll just sleep in today. Or maybe I'm not going to go for a run. Like you realize that someone's been telling you what to do for like however long. And now when you have your own choice, you don't know what to do.
I find that interesting too because, I mean, one of the reasons like I wanted to come here was that I was sort of training by myself. And the benefits that I get from training by myself are nothing like I do by training in a group or having somebody actually just tell you what to do and have done all that thinking for you. It makes such a huge difference. So, I can see totally how you'd slip into like, oh, well, no one's telling me what to do today. Well, I'll seek comfort rather than trying to seek unpleasantness. Yeah. Not that it's unpleasant coming here. No. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I have a question for you, Scotty.
Hit me.
Now we're talking about what the beach, the beach water polo. I mean, it seems like what you're doing is potentially going to change the face of the sport. It feels like you're taking something traditional and making it a little more more fun, more accessible to the general public. It's a bit of a twist on it. What do you think that's going to let's say it really kicks off? What's that going to do for the sport, and what kind of hurdles do you see in front of you? Because obviously there's probably people out there that might not like what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess like...
What are you trying to do?
Well, I guess it's what we're trying to do is just grow the sport. Like that's the vision, that's the goal at the heart of everything that we do. So, while we are like a commercial company, it's probably not going to be like the same as being a Wall Street banker. Like it's never going to be the same sort of financial reward. But I am very passionate about growing the game, and I think it's an awesome game once you get an opportunity to see it. Unfortunately, all the games are played behind like council pools, and it costs you $8 just to walk into the venue. And no one really understands who the players are. Like Keisha gets a little bit of publicity through some various media stuff that she does, but the one thing that people like about sport is yarn and narrative. Like you've got to know who the players are, why it's important that they're playing this team, why this team has done this, like what's the context of the game. And I don't think we do that very well as a sport. So I guess like from an event perspective, we just want to give it a chance for water polo to be exposed to new people in venues where they're just going to sort of be there and see it, and they don't really have to go out and seek it. And then secondly, it's like, how do we promote other people within the sport so that, eventually more sponsors want to get involved, and we can just keep it growing. But I'm working with like the national body and the state bodies and stuff, and they're very, very supportive of it. I guess it's just all the politics of, who are the stakeholders and what are the policies and procedures to get stuff done where I can sort of just, whatever I want to do, I can do. So, I think it's going to be... It's just gone to the World Champs. So I was the assistant coach of the women's team at the Australian women's team for beach water polo at the World Champs. So that was a cool experience to sort of become a coach. Yeah, be at the world stage and see all the other teams and meet all the FINA people, which is the international body, and start having those conversations. So I think that's a cool outlet for me as I get to the end of my athletic career. Like I sort of have a direction about how I'm going to stay involved in the sport and how I'm going to keep it going.
Is there anyone internationally that is doing something like that?
Yeah, it's been big in Europe for probably the last 10 or 15 years.
Yep.
No match. It's big in Europe the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
And then America's sort of starting to grow on. So I'm meeting all the people internationally who are running their own tournaments.
Okay, cool.
Starting to make those connections and see how we can work together.
And just to be clear, is the format slightly different? There's less players.
There's less players, so it's like depending on what competition you're playing in, it's usually 4 in the water at a time, and the fields goes from like 25 metres to being like 15 metres long. So you're dropping 10 metres of swimming off every time, which is huge.
That would increase the intensity of the game, yeah? Make it faster?
Yeah, so like at the international level,
Cool.
The girls were absolutely pumped because like if you're holding the ball and Keisha's marking me, then I've got 2 other people I can pass to who are also being marked. So you can't just like go sit in the corner and wait for somebody else to do something. You have to do something. Right. So you have to move into space or create something. So you just get exposed for any of your weaknesses in the 4-a-side version versus the 7-a-side.
I love it.
Which is really cool to see. It's like
indoor soccer.
Yeah, indoor soccer, rugby sevens, all those modified sports.
Yeah, cricket 2020. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, but not
2020, yeah.
Still shit.
Oh, that's so cool. And then I'm trying to picture it. Do you play beachside in a beach pool, in an ocean pool, or do you play in shallow in water
whatever
At a
we
high
can,
tide.
whatever we can do, right?
Okay,
Like
whatever you can do.
we've done Bundeena, we've done Manly Cove, Port Stephens, Wollongong. We're going to Huskisson next month.
Parramatta River.
Nice.
Parramatta River. I don't know about bull sharks and that sort of stuff.
I guess I'm
They've got
wondering.
a blow up field.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, wicked.
Yes.
And I'm wondering also because of this, the stadium. Can are you playing where you can have a bit of an amphitheater type thing, or
Depending on the venue, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the ideal, I think, location is that you've got like a jetty or something that you can put infrastructure on.
Yes.
So at World Champs, they just built the pool inside the field of the
yeah,
stadium.
yeah.
But for us, I guess, I think big appeal of what we do
Yeah.
is actually doing it outside and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
dealing with tide, dealing with currents, you know, a bit of wind.
part
and-
of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, having to shuffle to get stingrays out of the water in the morning when you put the field out, like all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do people get onto it? Like if they want to go watch a game?
I mean, if they want to watch a game, I mean, the first thing is just visit our website, beachwaterpolo4s.com, and then we've got a whole bunch of stuff on there about, you know, like how you can play our games, how you can train with us. I do some mentoring now for young athletes as well, so if you want to talk to me about more specific to water polo, but I don't know, maybe you've
They're
got
also
a big...
sorry,
Oh, no,
also
you go.
starting like coaching clinics for juniors.
Yeah,
So that's also
That's
a way to
cool.
get in, like get your kids
Fantastic.
involved, or if
Yeah.
you're listening and you're 13.
I'd love to get my kids involved in something like that.
for sure, yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess like if you're like a gym member and you want to play, like we do, events pretty much every month over summer. So just check our website out where the nearest location is for you,
Yeah,
and you just
yeah.
know to get 4 mates together and make a team.
We could put a team in this summer. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I'd be unreal.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you willing to go back
I'm
in?
not fucking playing.
Gaffer tape your swimmers on.
No, hot tip. Wear a wetsuit, you'll be more buoyant.
you know what you could wear?
Oh, yeah.
Like one of them big thick ones that they
Yeah,
wear
yeah.
in the
You could wear the,
Antarctica.
How about
the
floaties?
rashies.
I just straight up need some
JB
floaties.
rashes. That'd be sick. We could do it in our geese.
Yeah, even better.
Super savage.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that one of the barriers we want to get, I think water polo already has a high barrier to entry because if you haven't played from a young age, like, you know, T's experience, you know, it's a bit traumatic and there's a lot of skills that you have to put together. But really all you need to be able to do is not drown. That would be the number one skill. And
That'd
then
be really inconvenient
Yeah.
if someone did.
rather
Scott's
Not
there
good
to
for
save you, don't worry.
Yeah, so as long as you can sort of float-ish and you can swim a little bit, it's so much fun. It's not...
How long is the game split into halves?
Yeah, 6 minute sets. So 6 minute sets,
6 minute sets. How many of those in a game?
2.
2.
So if you win the first set, it's 1-0. If you win the second set, it's 2-0. But if it goes 1-1, you go to a penalty shootout. So it's always like game
Decent.
on the
It's
line.
fast.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. So yeah, hopefully it changes the game, and you know, we just keep on growing. Like next year, we're in talks to do an event on the Barrier Reef, which will be pretty sick. So we're starting to do all the government stuff that we have to do for that.
You want to get up there while it still looks good in photos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
not long to
outside
go.
of boxed jellyfish season,
Yeah, ideally.
ideally. But it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah,
Still do it.
that's somebody else's problem, not mine.
I got a question for the two of you as athletes. I read a book years ago on peak performance. I remember it was like one of the first books I read on peak performance, and it's an Australian book, and it had a lot of stuff from like a lot of sports science stuff. It's quite fascinating at the time. I'm sure a lot of the stuff is outdated now, but it had it was a quote or like a little passage from Steve Moneghetti, the distance runner, the Australian distance marathon runner, I think. And it always stuck with me. And he was saying how people always mention to him that because he is I'm guessing he's an Olympic gold medalist, or is at least world champion or very high level dude.
Yep.
They always mention to him that he must wake up in the mornings feeling really good because he's so fit. And he's like, you got no idea. I feel so shit in the mornings because I train so hard and like I'm always recovering and I'm just like beat up. And I found that really, it's just interesting because I was reading as like a 17-year-old. I was like, oh, wow, can't believe he wakes up feeling like shit. But, we do have that. The public has that perception of athletes that they are in elite physical form. And so they must be feeling great and motivated and energetic and positive all the time, physically and mentally kind of thing. Could you guys talk on that a little bit?
I can just tell you about this week. So I think it is. It would be just the same as the people that come to your gym. Some days you're ready to go, and some days you are like just struggling to get out of bed. And I am a bit of a klutz, so I'll like drop 10 cups and break things, and I'm half asleep walking around, and other days I'll be get up, light switch, like eyes open, running out the door, ready to go. But I think it's just like we're not different to anyone else. Some days are good, some days are bad, and I suppose what makes us keep going is that little bit of crazy that just says, "No, you're doing this. No matter what, you're getting to the pool. You're getting in."
What does that day look like? Your training day, like from start to finish?
So, like I guess it really depends, like what city I'm in. Like in Sydney, for example, I'd have to leave the house, wake up at 4, get to the pool at 5, do my rehab, jump in the pool, do a 2-hour session. But
2-hour session of like laps or
training? Like 50 minutes or an hour swimming, and then egg beater, and then passing, shooting, maybe some tactics. And then you do your day, and then you go and do your club training at night for 2 hours. But when we go to Canberra, it's maybe a 7 o'clock wake up, have breakfast, 8 o'clock session. So get there 15 minutes, 20 minutes early, do your rehab, get out of the pool 10:30. Go have physio, then go have lunch, and then maybe have a video meeting, and then have a nap, and then back in the pool at 5 or 6, out of the pool at 7, go have dinner, and that's a day. So, and then if every second day we do gym on top of that.
Canberra's obviously at the Institute of Sport.
Yeah.
Right.
So everything's really close, and like here, for example, I'm driving an hour there and back to training, so that's immediately cut out of my day, which gives you 3-4 hours every day more to recover. So it just, as much as I'd much prefer to be with Scott and be with Magic in Sydney, you can see why we're going to Canberra. It just makes a lot of sense, like recovery and nutrition and time-wise.
I guess like for me with beach handball, it's more we come together once a month as a team and do a training camp somewhere interstate. So sort of the training in between is really when I can do it on my own time, which has been good with the business. So like weekends, coming here of a night time and that sort of stuff. But I know for training camps, because we've got to squeeze so much into a 2-day weekend, we end up training for about 6 to 7 hours a day of those. So we do 12 to 14 hours of training over a weekend. So the next probably 4 days, like you just cannot prepare for that. Like there's no amount of training you can do that just prepares you for that much training. So I'm cooked for about 3 or 4 days after that. But the easiest thing to do is just get back into moving again and trying to flush everything out. And as soon as you stop moving, that's when it gets worse, I think. So,
oh yeah, if you have 4 days off, your body's like, here we go, recovery mode, and you always get like sick or you end up feeling more tired. So just never stop. Yeah. Keep going.
I mean, even last night we were like, oh, we'll go to the gym, and then it got to 5:30, and we were like, nah. Go home, tacos.
Yeah.
What does your weight session look like?
We do, what do? We used to do a lot of like your bench pull, your bench press, your squats. And we used to have this kind of goal, a testing that could actually get you dropped from the team, but we've changed coaches now. But where you had to body weight 1.5 times your weight, and you had to bench press your body weight, and you had to bench for your body weight.
Was that back squat 1.5 body weight?
Yeah. Right. But nowadays we don't have those type of tests. But we do, we still do the squats, the bench pulls, all that. We do a lot more abs and back extension and like rotation mobility, because that's how we can really gain power with shooting, is rotating, because water polo is a one-handed sport. So
do you load that kind of stuff, or when you say rotation mobility, do you do that with like bands, or you put weight onto it? Are they explosive movements?
If you're doing like rehab, it'll be with a band, but you can also do with like the cable machine where you'll kind of pull it down, involving
wood chops.
Yeah, wood chops. Wood chops. Yeah, a lot of wood chops. What did I do this morning? Lots of TRX stuff. It's not as much mobility as what you guys do, which I've really, really liked, but it's definitely a lot more than we used to do in terms of getting that range of motion. There's like definitely room to do more stretching, which I do individually. And now from coming here for the last month, obviously can add to the repertoire some really awesome hip flexor and calf and everything stretching, which helps so much with like athletes' longevity, getting on the older end of the spectrum, which isn't so old, 29, but in terms of water polo, older end.
Yep.
So yeah, what was I talking about? Gym.
How many days a week would you be doing? Like, say you're in preparation 9 months out or 6 months out. How many days a week in the gym?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, about
Cool.
an hour 15.
Yeah.
With the warm up in the beginning. Sorry. Yeah, 3 days a week. 3 times a week. Yeah.
How do you find it? Like, you've been coming here for the last month, and I'm not interested. Like, I'm not looking for compliments necessarily, but more so, it was surprising to me a little bit when Scotty's like, "Oh, I want to bring Keish in because she's got a bit of time before she goes away," and I was like, "That's fucking awesome. We'd love to have her here." But it was interesting. I was thinking that you don't have something that's laid out for you that you need to be doing already. I was like, "Oh, you've got this kind of training free time where you can come and do stuff with us." How have you found like just the non-specific nature of what you do here?
So I think because normally we would have a little bit more structure, but because they're starting this residential camp and they know it's going to be mentally quite taxing, they really wanted to give, and we just came from World Champs, which was in Korea.
Bronze medalist.
Boom.
Yeah.
Well, done.
Is it here today?
No, we should have brought it.
It's a podcast. I have it right here. So
It's amazing.
it's so big, right?
Yeah, it's big.
Sorry, and yeah, so they really wanted to give everyone like a mental break. So that was why there was quite a bit of leniency. But I've had shoulder issues in the past, so I kind of knew that if I did absolutely nothing, and it's my personality to not want to do absolutely nothing, but I knew that if that was me, I would be injured in the first minute going to Canberra and also go crazy. But in terms of coming to these sessions, there's I like really enjoyed it. I think I mostly did the bodyweight mobility just because of the timing and the fighting ones, which I got to fight against Scott, which was very fun.
I loved watching
Paid
that.
to see that.
It was so good.
Which fight class did you come to?
Paulie's
Like morning.
After one, the afternoon one.
Yeah, it was the evening. She was kicking his ass, basically.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what you
yeah,
want to
yeah,
know.
yeah. That's
So
right.
good.
That's right.
Like two giant broad pairs of shoulders
Yeah.
just swinging at each other.
He was struggling to get the pads up in time.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just
that's right.
throwing
How
handbags at each
nimble.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, like, talking about like how your weights are done. I think there's a lot of tendency in the program, like they'll write a water polo program, but they won't take into account that the amount of training that some people have done and others have done. So they might say put in, I can only speak to like my club one, they'll put in, deadlifts, but they don't have like a progression for how to actually teach deadlifts. It's just like lift the bar. And then they're like, oh, butt out. But, it's the same program depending on if you're an 18-year-old or if you're, my age. So I think that that's probably an issue with the S&C for like elite sport is that, they write a program for the sport, but not necessarily the individual. Where I know here you guys put a lot more focus on the progression. Like even though it's the same program for the group, there's a lot of focus on progression and making sure that each person does the skill to their ability level and spending that time to make sure that they're getting the foundation right. And yeah, I think that gets missed out a little bit because the focus is on the sport, not on the condition, strength and conditioning.
That actually reminds me of what I really love is when you're in pairs and then, again, when I was with Scott, but when I was with anyone, it's really fun to be like, come on, turn this on, do this.
Give
do
him
this.
the pokes.
Yeah, but it's so in at water polo gym training, we have a gym trainer and he's great, but he's one person, and you're trying to think, okay, my shoulder's doing this, so there's this doing this, and he'll come over and say, oh, like that set, blah blah blah, you weren't doing this and this, but it's so valuable to have someone constantly being like, no, like do it better.
Yeah.
And then you can you can say as much as you want, like, I'm doing it as well as I can. But if someone's literally holding you accountable every single rep, it just makes you get so much more out of the...
Yeah, the
the
quality.
set,
The quality's
the
better.
quality.
It's a culture that we build in the gym.
Yeah.
To have everyone almost policing each other's technique. And
Yeah.
it's been really valuable for us as coaches because we can just go upstairs, have a coffee.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very cost
Fuck, it's
effective.
all-
Yeah, but you make yourselves redundant. Soon they're going to be like, oh, we don't need you.
But yeah, that's great that you've noticed that actually. And a lot of people get a bit thrown out when they first come in because they partner up with someone and all of a sudden they got someone's fingernail in their glute and they're like, oh, what's going on here? But after you get used to it, you start to realize, okay, there's the tactile feedback, visual feedback, verbal feedback becomes really handy to keep you accountable for good quality form.
Totally.
And you learn a shitload, right? Once you're kind of coaching someone else,
Yeah.
you sort of inadvertently you learn the techniques so much better because you're enforcing the standards of it.
And you're like, oh, that's what happens. That's probably what I look like in the 5th second of a hollow body after 4 reps. Okay,
Yeah.
right, push my back to the ground or whatever.
What I think's been interesting as well is like the way that you guys coach. Again, not to keep blowing smoke up your ass, but
Please,
I'll keep
please.
going.
Please.
Sit here all day.
So-
yeah.
Going back into water polo coaching now, like, and how I'm trying to become a coach, I don't think the way I've been coached has not been like move your leg here and then rotate your hips and like being so like as specific as you guys are about how the movements are done. It's sort of just like, yeah, turn, come back. That's like there's no actual like this is how you move your foot. This is how it should be pointed. This is where you get your breaststroke kick in. So I think that's something that I've taken away here that I've tried to implement into my own coaching.
But I think even beyond that, it's like, okay, now pull your ribs down. Like, or make sure your shoulders set. Because half of the injuries we all get could probably be resolved from all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good point, that kind of specificity in describing something and keeping it very objective. It makes me think. I remember I did a workshop or seminar with somebody. They were saying that it's if you want to teach somebody to do something well, then you have to do everything you can to make sure that there's accountability in that process. So if I'm trying to teach you how to do a push-up, but I haven't actually told you to pull your rib cage down, squeeze your glutes, keep your quads engaged, elbows tight. Like if I haven't described every aspect of it and ensured that you understand what I'm communicating, then how can I expect you to actually do it well?
100%.
But if I have taught you that and you're still not doing it well, then it's on you. And it's no, I taught you how to do this, do it. And it gives you something to fall back on. It makes me think like when I used to play soccer and stuff, and even when I used to go to the gym back in the day, I think it's the standard of communication within a lot of coaching. It doesn't happen at that level.
No, I
it is
agree.
just like, do the thing, like go down, come back up, looks good.
Yeah.
Keep going, don't stop.
Yeah, just like little, soft hands, like for soccer or soft feet, whatever. Yeah, I agree 100%. So that's what I really want to take away into my own coaching is that communication and making sure that is really effective, which I haven't demonstrated well today with my
Sometimes
rambling.
it's so that kids don't have as
coffee.
good awareness of their bodies. Because
Yeah.
I've coached kids before. It's quite hard to be like, no, square your shoulders. And they're like, do the exact opposite. You're like, well...
How does it work with the kids that you've trained here? Have you found that harder to communicate?
Paul, you could probably talk on that. You've had a lot to do with the kids here.
Are we talking little kids?
Yeah,
We used
yeah.
to have the JB Kids program here. All smaller kids, it's more just about games. Wasn't a lot of strength to do. And we're talking like we've had 3-year-olds through to 12-year-olds. But I guess you're asking more about
3-year-olds suck at Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah.
I tried with them, but they wouldn't listen. Kept. But when it comes to say the 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds that I've worked with recently, it kind of varies depending on the maturity. But it's all about giving them, and it's been a learning experience for me. Giving them things that they're able to do. So it's kind of like finding that really nice balance between challenge and ability, which I think is at the heart of coaching altogether. You're trying to keep the person engaged. If it's too hard, they can't do it. If it's not hard enough, then it's not challenging, then they're not developing. So it's all about, I've been fortunate to have them over a period of time. And when you have people who are dedicated for a period of time and you know that, then you can build a program that considers that I have time to build a good foundation before trying to, add on weight or make it more complicated. So
Yeah.
it's about just giving them a little bit at a time and having a great foundation, because then, the sky's the limit if you've got a really firm base and understanding of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think with sports, like you are coaching very complex things, even though that if you're a natural athlete or if you are just an athlete because you've trained for a long time, there's a lot of things you take for granted, like just how to move, how to throw, how to run, how to jump. So it can be very easy to, you got a group of people, you're about to teach them the sport and they go, oh, I want you to do this. And you're like, why can't they fucking do it? And if you think back to say a body weight class here, we're doing such basic positions. Like some of the positions you're not even moving, you're just holding a position. And so if you think back to that, it's like, all right, well, I've got these people in the water or in the park or even on the jiu-jitsu mats. I'm trying to teach them this like multi-point sequence of highly complex moves that involve all the joints in their body and shifting weight and whatever. And it's like, man, how in some ways, how can I expect them to just pick that up?
Yeah.
I'm probably asking a little bit too much. I know Dave, the head jiu-jitsu coach here, he said that he coaches at a few gyms and he always comments on how it's really easy to coach jiu-jitsu here because everyone just picks things up quickly. And I think, it's because they've done a lot of this really basic stuff that gives their body like a terminology, or they have this software built in and they kind of understand instructions well.
Yeah, definitely.
They've got the foundation.
Yeah.
They used to.
And I think the foundation, I know with the process that I've got, I think it's the same with the gym as well. The foundation involves the motor patterns. So it's just making sure everyone's mechanics are working well and all the important motor patterns, say like the hinging and the squatting and the way that you lift your arms over your head and stuff, they have awareness around that. So the base, I guess, isn't just about building a strong base, but before that, you've got to have good motor patterns. And when, like, it was very obvious to me, like receiving a couple of guys that were 14 who didn't have a great deal of sport and they still hadn't fully developed, that I was, you can't load them up unless they have good patterns. So speaking to the members in the gym, I think, people are really aware of that and they're strong in all the basic positions, whether they're standing or they're in a low gate position, and it's not just a low squat, it's a one knee down fisherman squat, internally rotated, stuff like that. They've got a lot more awareness. So going into jiu-jitsu, I think, probably served them really well to transfer.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's at different stages of it, but I guess our quest is to develop that base all the time, as well as the more complex things.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like you've got a team of kids you want to coach in your sport, in water polo. You can't like get them out of the water and go and do like handstand progressions and push-ups. Like you got to play water polo. So, it's tough on a sports coach, but I think if there is that eye to develop, just put like 10% of the time that you have with them into some of that stuff, it will pay dividends.
And I guess it's harder for us as well because, firstly, to get in the water, there's so much, like if my head's out of the water, then there's like 90% of my body under the water that's doing something that I have to get the kids to go underwater, and then there's all these other issues, getting kids to look at you underwater. But, like you can't really demonstrate the same way that you would shoot in the water as if you would on land. You know what I mean? So if I'm standing out going
Like try and demonstrate swimming at all on land unless you're lying down.
Exactly. It's like there's so much.
Can you try?
I can try.
Come on.
I'll do it for the gram. But yeah, and it's like the whole game as well is like, where do you put your hand on somebody? Like, and it's, in jiu-jitsu, you have to touch people. And you can't do that by standing on the side of the pool, but that's the tendency we have in water polo coaching, is to stand on the side of the pool and try to explain something. And I think that's what I want to take in, is like actually having to get in and show how a skill is done and how the progression's done. Little Magic's just having a little sleep on my lap at the moment.
Magic's getting tired.
Yeah, he's had enough.
Scotty,
Yes.
tell me about this proposal.
Oh, well, I guess that sort of started when Keisha moved to Greece. I was going over to visit her in December, and about a week
Wait, hold up. It started in 8 years ago.
yeah, we've been dating for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You were friends before that, though. Yeah, I've read the article in the newspaper, mind you.
yeah, no. So we
You've done your research.
We all read it.
yeah, no. So we lived together. Like we've known each other through water polo since we've been about 14, 15, 16, around that age. We sort of bumped into each other.
Yeah.
And did you were you into each other then? Was it
No.
like love at first sight, or you're like, oh, this guy's a creep?
Disgusting.
Looks like Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, 16-year-old Scott had issues, but when we got to uni, so we ended up going to Sydney Uni together, and there was an opportunity to move into like the campus living sort of situation. So we sort of decided that we were going to go into a 5-bedroom house together because she was in the women's water polo, I was in the men's water polo. Her sister was looking for somewhere to live, so we could make it like a 5-bedroom house with some imports. So we did that. So we spent 3 years together living at Sydney Uni Village. Nothing ever happened. Don't think it ever got close to happening at any point.
Were you trying?
No, there
at
was.
that stage?
There is a story of
I
like
think he was trying.
where we did a schnitzel challenge where you had to eat a kilo of schnitzel.
This is probably my greatest achievement.
Yeah,
The Schnitzel Challenge. Olympics. Schnitzel Challenge.
kilo of schnitzel, a litre of beer, half a kilo of chips, and you had to do it under an hour. So we went and did that together with some friends. Keisha got the last chip in with like 10 seconds left, and then
No.
no.
Here we go.
Look, I'm going to be honest with everyone. I don't know who's listening, but I have to be honest with you. There were 2 chips left, but with 1 minute to go, I did throw up on the plate.
Yeah. So technically,
Because it was the third woman to ever do it, they gave me the T-shirt. They still put me on the wall. I still got the free dessert or something, which I did not eat.
yeah.
Where was this at?
This is the Austrian Schnitzel House in Ryde.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we did that.
I don't know if
Like
I've-
the one at Gladesville?
Yes. Yes.
Dude, I grew up just down the road from
Oh,
there.
nice.
Did you do the challenge?
I've been to that
but
place too.
I only went there a couple of times. The place was only there for a couple of years.
Yeah,
hey?
I think it's shut down now, unfortunately.
Wow.
So we're off the wall. But the point was, we went home that night. I threw up subsequently later. And then we were just lying in my room watching
Feeling
a movie
sorry for
together.
ourselves.
Yeah, feeling sorry for ourselves. And there was a part of me that thought, if there ever was a chance, it would be tonight. But in hindsight, that was pretty stupid. Considering
Yeah, when we started
we'd
dating.
both
She blew
spewed.
chunks just before I reckon I'm in.
So then we moved out for a year and ended
So
up.
this is also the time when we had decided on the marriage pact.
Yeah, so we had a marriage pact we made at a party where we said if we didn't find partners by the time we were 30, that we would start dating and eventually marry or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there was an SMH article where Keisha's sister's friend was a journalist who was writing an article about marriage pacts, cottoned on that we had one, sort of featured us as just a hilarious, there was nothing to do with the pact itself. It was just she was writing an article about it. So we get that in there. About a year later, we got together at a party, started dating ever since. And then, so Keisha was in Greece last year. So it was about a week before I was going over to visit. And I was like, seems about time to do it. So I started Googling, I was like, it might be nice to do in Greece. So I looked up how to get an engagement ring about a week before I got on the plane.
Googled
found out,
that.
Yeah, Googled it. Found out it's a little bit harder than I thought because I thought you could just rock up and take one. So that wasn't the case. So didn't do it in Greece, and then knew that when she came back from World Champs, so it was going to be there was about a week window that I had that she was going to be here for a long time and that she didn't have anything else on. And so I'd organised it all and sent her on a little scavenger hunt around Sydney Uni in Newtown, and ended up at Sydney Park and proposed to her there and got the answer I was looking for.
What was the significance about Sydney Park?
We lived at what's the suburb? St Peters.
Yep.
Yeah, we lived at St Peters for about a year and a half, and this is where we got Magic. So we used to take Magic to Sydney Park when we first got him.
So the scavenger hunt started at the student accommodation where the marriage pact was made, and we had lived together for 3 years being friends. And then it went all around, the aquatic centre. And
Marley Bar.
Marley
So
Bar.
you have to drive
Classic.
from location to location?
Yeah, so
On the same
Scott,
day?
Yeah, so Scott wasn't with me. My friend from school was taking me around, giving me the clues, and she's maybe 5 foot, and I kept on telling her, I could overpower you and steal all these clues. She's like, don't ruin the game. I'm like, I just want to get to the end.
I could overpower you.
Yeah. So
That's
How
so
many
romantic.
locations was it?
I think it was 8. I whittled it down from a 14 or so. But then I quickly realised I had to write clues for all of them, and I just didn't have that sort of creative energy that day. So the day before, the Friday before, I'd written the clues out, and we were writing them on. One of the girls I work with was helping me write them nicely onto nice cards, and I just did nothing that day because I was so nervous. And I wasn't nervous about the answer; I was just nervous about the actual, like, you know, like when you're in year 10 and you have to ask a girl to formal, and like you just get that, like you just know you have to
glad
ask.
that's what you're.
But no, it's like you have to ask that, like, oh, will you go to year 10 formal with me? And you have to ask that, and it's like because you have to ask that set words. It's like,
So-
will you marry me? Just felt like such a. I didn't know if I was going to be able to say it.
Well, Scott was very smart. But the final clue was actually written like my full name and will you marry me? So he had thought ahead. He's like, if I can't actually get these words out,
I got 'em,
just
yeah.
read it for yourself.
Yeah. So yep, did it, and so Keisha's got stuff to do in Canberra now. She's be planning the wedding, and we'll do it after Tokyo.
Yeah.
Yeah, all steam ahead.
That's it.
All steam ahead.
Super
Full
cool.
steam ahead.
It's a lovely story for you guys.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
cool. We really did the follow-up article was to get free stuff, and that hasn't come through yet. So
And some sponsorship for
sponsorship
the Olympic
would be
campaign.
good. Yeah,
Yes.
venue, dresses, whatever.
Yeah.
For me.
Dresses.
Yeah.
Dudes, we're going to wrap it up there.
You sure?
Yeah, we've done an hour and a half. We've done an hour and a half.
Hour 20.
You
Hour
got
20.
a lot of editing to do.
No, we don't edit.
Oh, you don't
Nothing
edit?
gets edited.
Oh wow.
No.
All the good
You're
stuff.
in.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, you got a bit going on. Case, you got a bit going on. You guys got any, like, can you give us where people can contact you, maybe where they can check out Beach Water Polo 4s, where they can check the Olympic campaign, like whatever you'd like to plug?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with me. Beach Water Polo 4s, Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, our website. Check it all out. And yeah, just get involved. It's for everybody. So no experience required. Just get in the water, have a go, and yeah, just check out all the other stuff we do. And then I guess like you can look me up on Instagram if you want. I'll always take followers. So Scoot Nico, SCOOTNICHO on Instagram.
Scoot.
Scoot Nico, yeah, pretty clever little Instagram handle. And then, yeah, check out Beach Handball Australia as well. That's all the stuff that we're doing for World Beach Games next month. And then I guess that's basically it. You can call me if you want. I don't know.
Does Magic
call
have
me,
his
maybe.
own Insta? Because
No, he
Magic's
doesn't.
a bit of a celeb. Like
He
you
is
do
a
some
celeb.
colourful stuff with him. The both of you do.
Yeah, he's just sniffing the mic. No, he doesn't. We should have done one earlier, but he's 6 years old now, so it's a bit late. You got to do it when
It's a bit lame now. For
Yeah.
him.
Looking up
Yeah.
beach volleyball falls, and all I can see is beach volleyball babes.
Well, that's
Is
because
that
of,
you?
It's a handball.
You idiot.
Oh man, that frustrates me
so-
so much.
For me, you can follow Australian Water Polo, or is it Water Polo Australia?
Water Polo Australia.
Water Polo Australia. Sorry, Water Polo Australia on Instagram. You can follow me if you want. Keisha, KEESJA. Gophers, GOFERS is my Insta. And you can follow our journey to Tokyo. And if you have a wedding venue, if you have a wedding dress you want to donate, we are taking anything.
No, wedding's at the gym next year.
Oh,
in 21.
yeah, that's right. We don't need a venue, sorry.
We're all sorted.
But the dress would be nice. Maybe you could, if they give you a dress, you
Just
could
white
give them a
leggings.
little plug at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Some shit.
yeah.
The IOC
Let's
is
tempt 'em.
famously good at letting you do like free publicity. They have no marketing guidelines or anything like that.
Yeah, they're loose.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's us.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the time to come chat with us today. And
No.
thanks for being a part of the gym.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. So when I'm all done with the polo, we'll be back.
It's our pleasure, and I'll try.
Yes,
I'm
it's
trying
our
to.
pleasure.
I'm trying to work on next year's Winter Warrior Challenge. I really want to win that. I'm coming for Sue. I'm coming for Dill. I'm coming for all those people.
Call outs.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks, Magic. Quick shout out to our boy Tree at Panavore Cafe for supplying the delicious brews today. Everyone's feeling pretty jacked up on the caffeine. They're over at Pagewood. Check them out. Panavore, Panivore. Delicious egg and ham sandwich also. If you want to get in touch with us, junglebrothers.com, at Jungle Brothers Movement on Instagram. If you want to chat about strength, mobility, jiu-jitsu, Thai boxing, any of the above, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thanks for listening. Share this episode with a friend if you got one. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.